to see something really scary.
Attention. Do I have everybody's attention now?
Hey, now it's overtime with Mike Gilbert. Actually, no JD on this overtime. We were actually going to we were thinking about recording yesterday. So tonight is Monday. It's 8:23 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, and JD actually hit me up yesterday and was like, "Hey man, do you want to record?" And this was like early afternoon, and I had all these plans with my wife and my daughter, and I was like, dude, if I record with you on Mother's Day, I'm gonna need to find a new place to live. Now, had he waited, till like 9 p.m. Hawaii time, we could have done something. But 9 p.m. Hawaii time's like, 2, 3 in the morning where he's at. So there's just no way we were not going to be able to do it. And so he and I did not get a chance to record. Well, I did get a chance to watch MLW Azteca Underground, and I'm also in the process of watching New Japan Resurgence. So, in an effort to try to give some more content this week, I'm gonna do, as you can tell by the title of this one, this is an Azteca Lucha results. So thanks to everybody that provided me some feedback on my post earlier today on Patreon. I wanted to I wanted to do this, but I was like, if the Patreon audience doesn't care, then I'm just not gonna do it. If you guys didn't want it, I wasn't gonna give it to you. So it was important that I got that feedback, because it was something that I was like, maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't. But I really just wanted to hear from you guys before I actually took the time to be able to do that, because I did watch it, and I watched it unprompted. I did have the thought in the back of my head that I would do a review, but the last one that I did, I got a little bit of feedback on Patreon, and then I posted it on YouTube, and then like a few days later, and it just died. So I was like, oh man, is the juice worth the squeeze on these ones? And then War Chamber came out. War Chamber, they did 2 of them, and I watched the first one, not the full pay-per-view, but I watched the War Chamber match. And but I didn't have access to the whole show. At least I thought. I didn't know I had access to it, and I just found out I had access to it over the weekend. So and I was thinking that it was going to come out on YouTube, and it never got released. And in fact, I'm just now learning that what they're doing with MLW is they're doing their Triller Plus show. So they did the War Chamber with Satoshi Kojima and Manders and all those guys and Filthy Tom. They did that match on Triller Plus. So that is kind of like their primary source of television exposure is Triller Plus. And then what they're doing is, like, right after the Triller special, they're immediately going into like a taping that is to be aired a week later for YouTube. If you guys think I'm sounding dumb right now, it's because I just learned this. I had no idea. I thought that they were just like going live every week. So so hold on, swig of water for Court Bauer. And so what they did this past weekend is, like, on Saturday they taped Azteca Underground, and then that is immediately being followed by I don't know if they did it before or after, so you guys could tell me, but they have Fury Road as well, and that's actually coming out on YouTube next week. Well, anyway, to make a long story more boring, I found out over the weekend that I have Triller Plus. My buddy, he and I have been sharing a Fight TV account for years, has been paying for Triller Plus, even when it was called Fight TV Plus, and all the MLW stuff gets on there. I had no idea. So he texted me. He's like, he texted me during the New Japan show, which I had already planned on watching. He texted me. He's like, hey, Mike, are you watching New Japan? I was like, no, but I'm going to try to watch it later. He goes, well, what about MLW? I was like, I don't even know how to watch MLW. I was like, I don't even think I can get it illegally. And he told me, he's like, well, you're still logged into my Fight account, right? And I was like, yes, because that's how I watched Rebellion. because he paid for it, and I'm such a cheap ass. But I was like, yeah. And he goes, well, like I get like all the MLW shows are on Triller Plus, and I'm a subscriber to that, so he's getting all that stuff. And I was like, no shit. And then boom, light bulb goes off. I was like, wow, I could actually start watching more MLW. And even like if there's a Pro Wrestling Revolver or whatever else, I'm exploring the Triller Plus app. So there's a lot of stuff on there. So I might actually get into some more reviews. Because I don't like doing like blow by blow weekly recaps of television shows that were, a lot of it's skits, but I think I really do enjoy the recaps of pay-per-views. And Backlash didn't do shit for me, but I also just recorded that with my phone and there was no video, so it didn't do much for me. It was also the least popular WWE pay-per-view of all time. So but if you guys want this stuff, I'm going to keep trying to do it. Now, I don't know how consistent I can be, and I don't know that I'm going to get to everything, and which companies I'll be able to check out and, and all that stuff. I don't think I'll have like a consistent like indie promotion that I always make sure that I watch. It'll be very dependent on the show. Like if I think that you guys will like to hear about it, then I will make the time to check it out. And then, these things come on like late night Saturday night, or I can just watch them late night Saturday night and have something recorded by like Monday, which is what I'm doing right now. So yeah, this is going to be the Azteca Lucha recap show. But before I get to that, I do want to address some of the folks in the Voices of Wrestling Discord. And I know some of you guys that are listening to this show have access to that. And I'm not talking about you guys, but there seems to be some people out there with a problem with me, with some of my thumbnails that I use. They're not really mad about when I do thumbnails that feature dumb faces, like Eric Bischoff when I put his dumb face on one, or Vince Russo, or Vince McMahon, or Triple H, or John Laurinaitis, or myself, right? Or even this week, Ash by Botox. I think I even got one that was a little bit silly of Josh Alexander. They're not upset at those. But you put Tony Khan in a neck brace, kind of looking surprised, and all of a sudden they think that you might be a grifter like Wrestle Talk or something like that. And I'm like, you guys need to grow up. I mean, I definitely need to grow up, but you guys need to grow up more because you guys are mad about that. It's stupid. It's silly. And they're like, oh, Mike's just trying to play the algorithm. Yeah. I have a YouTube channel. I'm trying to get people to click the link. Right? But I'm not doing anything dishonest or deceitful. If they click the link, they're absolutely getting my honest opinion and JD's honest opinion. So there's no grifting going on here. So people trying to lump me in with them, you guys are out of your minds. And people did have my back on that stuff too, and they and DJ Convoy specifically, and he was just trying to let me know that that when I put the Tony Khan face on a thumbnail, people are gonna start thinking that I'm like Wrestle Talk. But I'm like, I do it for everybody. And I'll be honest, I don't pay attention to Wrestle Talk, so I don't know what they're doing or what they're not doing. But it seems to be a point of contention with Joe Lanza and my boss, Joe Lanza. He does not like it when these grifters are coming out and they're using the most unflattering picture that they could find of Tony Khan. And they create a headline that is very salacious and they're making shit up when they talk. Or they're having some fake opinion to be able to get people mad or to draw people in. They're anti-AEW to get them to click the link and watch the show. That's not what I'm doing. It's just not what I'm doing. With faces on thumbnails, I have found that the more expressive the face is, the better it is for the algorithm. That's just a fact. It's something that I've just learned over time. And that's why people do it. But I'm not like being deceitful or being disingenuous or being dishonest. And look, Tony Khan has a very expressive face. And he makes dumb faces. He's easy to thumbnail. He really is. Honestly, I made some pretty dumb faces for Triple H over the weekend for a couple of my my clips that I made, and they're doing decent, but not that great. He just doesn't have a very good dumb face. Tony Khan does, and like the him and neck brace is like gold to me. I love that. But I'm not doing anything to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm not doing anything to piss people off. In fact, I think the people that hate us the most are the WWE fans, because JD and I go hard on WWE more than anybody. So if you're upset over the weekend about that I put the video that had the thumbnail with Tony Khan in a neck brace saying, "Is Tony Khan burnt out?" If that upsets you, I don't care. You're not a serious person. I don't find you to be like somebody that's worthy of being in my audience, to be honest with you, because that's not offensive. Like, he wore the neck brace. He went on NFL Network and did the whole thing. He put himself out there, so naturally it's going to be fodder for YouTube thumbnails. So I don't feel bad about it, and I don't care that people don't like it. If you don't like it, that's fine. Go do something else. Go listen to somebody else, because I'm having fun over here, and I'm trying to build a YouTube channel, and I'm doing a pretty good job, by the way. Our YouTube channel is growing all the time, and we're selling ads. We're doing something. We're making this thing work, you know. And I'm putting a lot of effort into it. I work hard on this YouTube channel, believe it or not. And it's for the love of the game, because I'm not really, like, I was joking that I made $15 last week. I made $18 actually. I went and double check, because I made the joke, and I made the joke in the on Twitter, and I made the joke in the Fight Game Media Discord that I made 15. Actually, I made 18. so, which, like, there are YouTubers out there that make, you know, thousands every week, and I'm like $18. You know what I mean? But so I'm not doing this for the money. It's just like for love of the game. And making thumbnails has been like a fun and creative thing for me to do. And it's been one of the things that it kind of has set me apart from my peers, to be honest with you, because I was doing that when I was at Fight Game and nobody else was doing that. I was hard into the thumbnail game. I was doing it for my articles too, and nobody else was. You know, I was just doing extra things and being more creative and looking at the trends and seeing who's doing what and who's being successful. And then there's certain lines I'm not willing to cross. One thing I'm not willing to do is have an opinion that I don't absolutely believe in. Will I crank up the heat when I'm going in on somebody? Yeah. Will I kind of cross the line whenever I'm telling a joke? Yes. But will I have an opinion that I don't absolutely believe in? No. That's not me. And that's what Eric Bischoff is doing, right? And that's why we call him a grifter, because and Joe, specifically Lanza, he pointed out specifically that like we caught him red-handed this week when Dave Shearer posted something that was like talking about WWE having no leverage in Q4 whenever they're sticking with the USA for like $24 million, right? Which is a good deal for USA. He said, this is what happens when you don't have leverage in a negotiation. And he's absolutely right. And Eric Bischoff quote tweeted him and put a clown emoji. And then when he realized that it wasn't Dave Meltzer and that it was Dave Shearer and that Dave Shearer was right, he said, oh, my bad, Dave Shearer took a stray. I actually agree with this. His whole thing is to disagree with Dave Meltzer, and his whole thing is to be anti-AEW. That's not what I'm doing. Can I go hard on AEW sometimes? Yeah, I do. Probably more so than JD, and more so than probably anybody on the Voices of Wrestling Network, because that network specifically, they're very big AEW fans. I think Joe and Rich do a very good job of giving them fair criticism, right? But I'm also in some of the other chats and in the Discord where it's like 99.9% positivity, and a lot of people get shouted down whenever you do have kind of a dissenting opinion. That does happen, right? AEW fans are very sensitive, and I don't care. Like, I just say whatever I want, because this is my show and it's my network. Voice of Wrestling, not my network, but Mike and JD show is my network. And I can say, oh, it's whatever I want. And Joe and Rich have never told me not to say anything or tell me to say something. They've never tried to control me whatsoever. And if they did, it wouldn't work out. But they're not those kind of guys. They let us do whatever we want. We're like, we have carte blanche, or whatever that saying is. So the thumbnails are going to continue. If people are going to harass Rich and Joe over some silly thumbnails, A, grow up, don't be a loser. But B, me and Rich just have a chat, and they just won't tweet out my YouTube links anymore, and that's fine. Because I'll be honest, I get kind of uncomfortable that like a lot of their tweets is just about me because I have such a high volume of YouTube clips. Because like I said, I'm working really hard, and it's showing because the show is growing exponentially. The YouTube channel is growing like a lot. And it's because of the effort that I'm putting into it. It's not only the effort, but it's the content. Like people like the content, and then some people hate the content. Mostly WWE fans hate the content. Most negative comments I get are WWE fans getting mad at me and JD taking shots at Triple H and Nick Khan and Vince McMahon and all the dumb stuff that they're up to. Right? That's where it's coming from. But if you guys think that I'm like Wrestle Talk because of that, I fucking don't care. I really don't. Honestly. And thank you to DJ Convoy for kind of pointing it out that he doesn't think that. And I appreciate that because he knows me. He's been following us since day one, and he kind of gets us. But he could see why people would think that. And I guess look, if you're not paying attention and all you're seeing is the thumbnails, right? And you get offended by anything anti-Tony Khan, or if you get offended by people making fun of Tony Khan, that upsets you. I could see why you could think that. But if you don't actually listen to the show and you don't know JD and I, you don't know what we do and what our content's about, and you want me to stop putting those thumbnails, I don't fucking care what you think. I'm not going to stop. What I'm not going to do is kowtow to people who don't listen to the show and aren't going to listen to the show because they won't have a fucking opinion on my thumbnails. I don't care. You don't have to follow my YouTube. You don't have to click on my links. You don't have to be a part of this thing. I really don't care. Go somewhere else. Go listen to it. Look, Shake Them Ropes is a great show. Good, the Bad, the Hungry, awesome show. Jesse Collins is a great show. The Flagship is probably the best podcast out there. In fact, JD and I are probably just a big rip off of them. Job. There's so much of the content on the Voices of Wrestling Network that they can go check out. I don't think you're tough enough to listen to us, to be honest with you, if that offends you. So, anyway, moving on. I'm running out of time. Sorry, but I just wanted to get that off my chest. But yeah, so I watched this MLW Azteca Lucha. I watched most of it on Saturday night, and I caught the rest of it on Sunday morning. And overall, I thought the show was okay. They did a good job. They sold a lot of tickets there, which makes sense because it was essentially a CMLL show. Like 95% of the talent on the show were like CMLL, it seemed. It was a very CMLL heavy show. And I think this could end up being a problem for MLW because they are relying so much on foreign talent that they don't have under contract that when they get split off and they have to do their own thing again, and that always happens. Like these relationships just don't last forever. When they have to go do their own thing, it's going to be a bad day for them. It really is. That's why it's cool. Like if they want to have Kojima and Mystico on the show, being recurring characters or a couple people, that's great. But when you're overloading your show and you're putting all your belts on talent that don't actually work there, like one or two is fine. Like if you want to like tag champs, whatever, or you want to do, one or the other, like the world championship is just kind of like a transitional champion to get from one guy to the next. And you want to use a legend to get to that point, that makes sense to me, especially when you're MLW. But man, I think I was doing the count, and they got MLW champions Satoshi Kojima, tag team champions Kojima and I guess Koji Max, the Koji Max team. I can't remember his tag team partner's name, but it's in here. I'll find it out, and then I'll look it up in a little bit. MLW National Openweight Champion Bad Dude Tito, New Japan. Middleweight champion is Mystico, CMLL. I think that's it. I think they have a women's champion. I don't know that the women's champion works there. I don't know. And that might be something I need to look up. So, but yeah, they are relying so much on CMLL and New Japan. But I mean, good for them because that's kind of what got me into the show. I was like, oh, okay. It's like Fantastica Mania almost, which is funny because New Japan's actually doing a Fantastica Mania in San Jose coming up later this year. It's going to be a New Japan CMLL Super Show. And I don't think MLW is going to be a part of that one because MLW is already trying to do that right now. But here's the here is the results. I watched the whole thing too, guys. Selena De La Renta is stopped by masked men trying to enter the building. Cesar Duran welcomes everyone to the show. I like Cesar Duran. I think Selena De La Renta is very overrated by Court Bauer, but I think Cesar Duran is an exceptional performer, and I think that he would be good on any television show that he's on. He just has it. There's just something about the guy. He looks like a star. He's just really good at what he does. I enjoy everything about him. Then they'll go to the Caesar and Selena chat. Selena is just not good in these backstage segments, I don't think. I thought Caesar was good. I just didn't find Selena to be very good. But the whole deal about this show is that like they have their own team and like it's a big tournament thing. So then we go to Atlantis, Jesus Rodriguez. So if you're keeping score, that's Alberto Del Rio's former ring announcer, Jesus Rodriguez. And boy, you know what? The guy can actually go a little bit. My guy needs to get himself back in shape, but he actually like I'm not saying he was like great or anything, but like he actually surprised me a little bit with what he was able to do. And I know he was like an NXT guy for a little bit too. So, but Atlantis, Jesus Rodriguez, and Guerrero Jr. defeat Felino, Virus, and Viano 3 Jr. Okay, Viano 3 Jr. I get the Viano 3 is like your dad. Yeah, I get that. Hold on just a second. But shouldn't you be like Viano like 7? Like, or are you Viano 3 Jr.? I don't know. It just kind of made me laugh. I'd never heard of Viano 3 Jr. before. But I mean that's just kind of their custom. But anyway, this match was not very good. It was very clunky. The guys were lost half the time. Some of these guys are like older, struggling. And then Jesus Rodriguez doesn't really work very often, and I think he tried his best to kind of carry this thing, but he just he didn't have the chops, I guess. And then I know a lot of these guys are just much older, but the crowd was really into it though. I got to give them that. But like Atlanta's like super famous, so is Virus and all these cats. So yeah, but I didn't think that this match was very good. In fact, I would if you're gonna go back and watch this, if you have Troller Plus and you're just waiting to find out what I thought about it. If you're waiting to find out what I thought about it, then you probably just skip this match. Sorry, I keep getting text messages. Okay, then Cesar and Selena chat. It was just kind of a cringy backstage segment. I didn't find that to be very good. But like I said, I still like Cesar Duran. I think he's really good. And then we go to the MLW National Openweight Championship. We got Bad Dude Tito defeats Ricky Shane Page. So Bad Dude Tito, again, if you're keeping score, he's New Japan. He defeats the champion Ricky Shane Page. So we got Bad Dude Tito is the champion. I really like Bad Dude Tito. And if New Japan's not going to use him to the best of his ability, because I really think that he should be in Japan right now working G1s and stuff. I think he's that good. I think he's I hate to say it, but he's like a dude, right? But his name's Tito Escondido. Just a big jacked up dude, a Latino star, obviously just like he looks like somebody that would be right out of Bill Watts' UWF. I really like him. And he was in Impact, I think, like a year or so ago. And I was like, damn, they should fucking sign this guy. He's incredible. And I everybody knows that I'm like, I really like the big dudes, but man, I think that this guy is special. And if New Japan's not going to use him and MLW gets dates on him, why just go national open? I would just put the damn title, like the MLW, like have him beat Kojima. Just go all the way with this guy. And I love Kojima, don't get me wrong. But like you got a young stud like this, a stallion, you need to freaking go with him. Like I just don't know how many dates are going to have on the guy because he's New Japan. And I think that like New Japan and TNA quit working together because we have not seen them like cross paths in a while. The New Japan show moved away from Thursday to Wednesday. We haven't seen Kevin Knight in TNA in a while. I know Kushida just went over there, but I think Kushida had like a dual contract where he he has a contract with New Japan that when he goes to Japan, he would work for them. But he's like his main company is TNA. So I think that's an interesting story because it seems like New Japan's all in with the MLW deal. I mean, they're only sending like guys they don't use that often, like Kojima, but and Okamura. But that's interesting. That's interesting to me. But Bad Tito is the new MLW National Openweight Championship. I thought the match was okay. What they did was fine. I don't really think Ricky Shane Page is very good. But the crowd just did not seem into it. The crowd was very much there for CMLL. So when it wasn't CMLL, it seemed like to me, they just seemed to not care, with one exception, Matt Riddle. I thought that they really liked Matt Riddle. They were into him a lot. But this match seemed like they just weren't into it. It's not, and I don't think the match is all that bad. It wasn't a great match either. Like none of these matches were very great. Like so, you're coming to MLW expecting like to get these blowaway matches, you just didn't get them. But you had some fun matches, some good matches, but nothing like blowaway. But if you weren't CMLL, they just didn't care. Atlantis Jr. defeat Ultimo Guerrero. I liked this match. And I thought this was kind of an upset. I figured that Ultimo Guerrero, the legend, would actually get the victory here, but they went with a young cat. Well, I don't know how young he is, but he seems young to me, Atlantis Jr. He was recently on AEW, wrestled Chris Jericho, and I wasn't very impressed with him when he wrestled Jericho, but we're learning more and more that Jericho's just kind of shot, and Atlantis Jr. Seemed like he got lost in the big moment, and the match wasn't very good, but I think that wrestling Jericho wasn't very helpful. But here he is, Ultimo Guerrero, and I thought they had a really good match. I enjoyed this match. It was a lot of fun. The crowd was super into this one too. I mean, look, of course it was clunky and there was a little, some botches and stuff like that. But it was an enjoyable watch. It was an enjoyable Lucha Libre match, and I really like that MLW has just kind of turned their promotion into a Lucha Libre promotion. With the help of CMLL, I just fear for them when that relationship ends, and it will end one day. They always do. MLW Tag Team Championships: Cozy Max, Satoshi Kojima, and Okamura defeat the Second Gear Crew. So this one surprised me. I thought that the Second Gear Crew would get the victory here, just because I don't know if they're contracted guys, but they're like every MLW show, and Kojima's already the champion. And so I was like, why are you putting the tag titles on him too? And Okamura, I mean, he was really good in his prime, but he's just not like that. He's just not impressive. He just isn't. Kojima's still awesome. Kojima's still got a ton of charisma. Okamura is basically a couple of moves and a diamond cutter, right? And I don't know how old he really is, but he looks like 75. But the match was okay. Again, CMLL was the most over stuff on the show, so anything else was kind of like secondary to it. And this was treated as such, and then just kind of came out of nowhere too, I thought. Second Gear Crew, I like these guys. I like both these guys. I advocated for them to be signed by Impact a couple years ago. I was thinking that they would be good pickups for them. I like Manders. I have a couple problems with him. One, I don't like that he's one called Manders. Just fucking be Manders. Don't be cute. Okay. And two, he's cosplaying as Stan Hansen, but he's like 5'8". So we're gonna have to clean that up a little bit. Even the announcers were kind of like referring to him like he's like the Stan Hansen here, but it's like he's too small to be Stan Hansen. You just be yourself. You can do a lariat, it's a fine. If the guy's the same size, you do the lariat, right? But Stan Hansen's Stan Hansen. When Manders walks into a room, no one's afraid of him. When Stan Hansen walks into a room, everybody was scared of that guy. It's just different, right? Bruiser Bro, just different cats. They're like they're like 6'4", 6'6", just big 300-pound, scary looking dudes that can hit hard. But when you're 5'8", and you're not really jacked or nothing like that, you're just an average looking dude. Don't come out thinking like you're Stan Hansen because you got a cowboy hat on. That's not how it works. But he's a good worker. He is. And I like Matthew Justice too. I think he's got a cool look. weird that one guy's a cowboy, the other's like a metalhead, but I think it works for them. But I probably would have went with Second Gear Crew here, just because Kojima's already the world champion. And I don't know. I just thought that the Second Gear Crew should have just been the champions. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. Matt Riddle then defeats Joshua Bishop. The grandson of Dr. D. David Schultz. I don't know, I used to use that joke on one of those guys from the Learning Tree back in the day, like Brian Myers' Learning Tree. But yeah, Joshua Bishop. There wasn't much to the match, but Matt Riddle was super over. He really was. And one thing I got to compliment MLW for is that MFL was not really on the show very much. He was very subdued, because the last time I did one of these recaps, he was all over that thing, and it was like unwatchable at times. It was pretty gross to see MSL all over the TV show. And so I don't know if it was my recap or what, or maybe the culmination of a lot of different recaps, but MSL was very much subdued on this show. And I am thankful for that, because he is not a good performer. He does not belong on television. So he was just on the outside, got involved a little bit, but he was very inoffensive. After the match, Matt Riddle he declared himself for the Battle Riot coming up, and then Sami Callihan, who I believe was a babyface up until recently, attacked Riddle from behind, and then they continued to fight until separated. So Sami Callihan turns heel on Riddle, and looks like that's going to be the next program coming up for those two guys. And then we get to Averno and Magnus defeating Star Junior Fuego. I thought this match was another pretty good match. They did some cool stuff. It's a lucha match, but I thought it was pretty fun. I thought it was pretty good. I liked this match. I don't really care. I didn't really care who went over in this one, because I'm learning who these guys are in like real time. Like, I know who Magnus is, I believe, and I know Star Junior. I believe Star Junior was I think he was either on AEW recently, or he might have just been in one of the CMLL shows I watched recently. But and I like Fuego's costume. And then Averno just seems like a normal dude, but I like the other guys. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty fun match. Good stuff. And then Selena tries to open a locked door to the secret of Lucha Libre, but it's locked. Well, there you go. MLW Middleweight Championship. So we get to the main event. We got Mystico defeating Barbaro Cavanario. Now, I'll be honest. I got nothing against this Cavanario guy. I probably would have went with somebody different in the main event of the show. Just my opinion. He's not a bad wrestler. He's actually pretty good. His gimmick is super cheese, though. Works in CMLL, but this is the States. I probably ought to put him in main event, especially because we all know that Cavanario is not beating Mystico. I would have put one of my guys up against Mystico and just had a hell of a match or something like that. Or maybe there are no MLW guys. I don't know who's in this company anymore. I really don't. But from a marquee standpoint, it was fairly weak. Now, I got to say, Mystico was over like crazy. Booking Mystico, against kind of like, in my opinion, I'm not a CMLL guy. So maybe he is a big star in CMLL. And maybe he worked his way up, and the crowd's just behind him, and it was time to put him in a main event of a show. Maybe that's all true. I don't know, but just Mystico being in the main event is important and special. The guy is super over, especially in Chicago, especially in like Latino heavy cities, and so that was pretty smart. I think I would have just gave him a different opponent, but. There wasn't really any story heading into the match. I think it's just they booked. So it's kind of tough, but yeah, they went. I think they went a good 15 minutes, and I thought this was a pretty good match. Cavanario, his gimmick is super cheese, but I think he's pretty good. He probably needs to evolve that if he's going to do more work in the States. But Mystico is like the legend of all legends coming out of Mexico right now. The guy is incredible. The crowd just loves the guy. They eat up everything he does. Tons of Mystico chants. Lots of good crowd heat. This is a great spot for MLW, the Cicero Stadium. Impact used it, I think, like 6 times last year. And they're actually getting ready to come up there for Against All Odds. And I get the feeling that MLW will have outdrawn them. I think MLW will have sold more tickets for this Azteca Lucha show than TNA at Against All Odds. I think so. Now we're never gonna get the real numbers. whatever TNA's number is, it'll probably get leaked out like the day later that W like 17 people, but because Corey Bauer is very savvy about that stuff. But I think that MLW, like I just looked at it and it looked like a pretty big crowd to me. They said they said that they broke their gate record and their attendance record in that stadium, but they didn't actually say what the numbers are, so I'm very skeptical of that. You just say that, but you actually put the numbers. I just don't care. I'm not interested in that. So just tell me what the numbers are, and I'll report them for you. I'll push those out. That's a big deal, right? Like MLW is a company that has like no momentum whatsoever. They have no talent, and they're just using talent from CMLL and their indies and New Japan and all that stuff. But they're throwing together, and they're putting on pretty good shows. I think that it would behoove them to actually book some matches that are blowaway, especially if a lot of their matches are just not going to have stories. Because if you're just going to book matches for the sake of matches, you better make them mean something. You better make them blow away. If you're going to start getting a foothold in the space, that would be my advice to them. But I thought it was a pretty good show, easy show to watch, fun show. I thought the production was very good, with the exception to the ring announcer. The guy that's in the ring, like his microphone was blowing out the speakers every time he raised his voice, and so they got to clean that up. But I feel like the camera work and the play-by-play guys and all that stuff, I thought that was all pretty good. The backstage stuff wasn't mic'd very well, but I get the feeling that they're using like whatever crew that TNA uses when they go to Chicago, probably using similar crew but with like cheaper equipment. It's kind of but it was very much, it reminded me of a TNA show. So anyway, I thought this was a show overall. And if you guys want me to keep doing these MLW reviews, man, I'll do them. As long as I continue to have access to them. That's been the problem. I just didn't have access before, and I wasn't like, I didn't know that you guys would care that much. So I was like, well, I'm not going to go and try my best to steal them, but now my buddy just gave me access to his account, so I'm cool with that. But thank you guys for being Patreon subscribers. I really appreciate it. I'll probably clip some of this for YouTube, but I think it's mostly just going to be for you guys. And thank you for withstanding my rant, my thumbnail rant. People giving me shit about it. No, but that was fun. I need to get that stuff off me. But yeah, I'm actually going to head downstairs right now and watch New Japan Resurgence, and maybe I'll try to do a Resurgence recap at some point. I got the week off, so I might try to knock that out too. Just do some more Patreon stuff this week. But that's going to do it for me, guys. And until next time, mahalo.
I want to see something really scary.
Attention. Do I have everybody's attention now?